Yeah, buddy, you've downloaded Tropical Talk Radio, where we talk about all things entrepreneurship, travel, and lifestyle. If you're interested in more about this program, check out tropicalmba.com. And if you sign up for our mailing list, I will personally send you 50 free podcast episodes that take you along on our journey and expose the insider story on how we started $1 million honest-to-goodness product business while we traveled the globe.
Hey now, it's episode 21, Tropical Talk Radio, Spotlight Marketing, and have we found the community marketer's secret weapon? Speaking of community marketing, this is a community podcast. Today I will be answering your questions via email. Thank you for writing me, Dan at Tropical MBA. If you are one of the guilty parties and your email has been answered on this program, I understand I can't get to every element of your question. That doesn't mean that I don't want to, so feel free to follow up with me via email or in the comments section. Today I'm coming to you from Bali. It's Friday afternoon. It's a happy hour show, and let's get down to business. Will writes me from nappy.co.uk. He says this is a business that has produced a pretty decent amount of money in the past. Starting to get serious. Moved it to a dedicated server. That's $200 a month. Wow, that's a little bit expensive. You could probably rock this thing out much cheaper than that, but let's not split hairs. He's building out content. He's writing blog posts, but the recent algorithm updates have put him behind his biggest competition. And now Will wants to take it to the next level and is looking for some strategies. All right, Will, I went to your site, everynappy.co.uk. A couple things. First, you got to 80-20 that product line for your most profitable and expensive items at the top. There's a ton of stuff on your site, and what we like to do on our sites is move up the biggest, most profitable items, the ones that we really want people to be pushed into, to the very top of the site. I'll also share with you something I call the number one SEO strategy of all time that always works, which is you don't have to make these amazing blog posts, but what you do want to do is create excellent cornerstone resource content that shows up in problem inquiries in your marketplace. So rather than showing up for nappy men, whatever, maybe you want to go for a question inquiry or a problem inquiry that people have in your marketplace that might want to buy your product. So here's how this works. You inventory the top 10 to 20 problems that your marketplace has, and so, whatever that is, those are going to be questions. And then you go out and you structure content, you buy content or you build content, you build a prototype piece of content that is going to rank for those long tails. And then you build out 10 to 20 of those resource foundation posts and you put those on your site and you market those. That's the number one SEO strategy. I call that, content proliferation under the aim of problem solving. Because you're probably not going to develop like an audience around this kind of stuff. So instead, what you want to do is you want to have content sitting out there on the internet waiting for people to have those problems. And then when you look at sites like Yahoo Answers, and you're going to get a lot of leads from stuff like that, they're going to be linking to your resource posts because you're going to have the best answers for whatever problems are out there. And this is the final question, Will. When you're going to try to decide whether or not to take this business to the next level, you said that you made a little bit of money on this thing and you sort of fell behind your main competitor. I want you to ask yourself the question: does this business work for you even if you dominate? A lot of people are sort of barking up trees that are never going to get them to where they want to go. So I think you want to take a step back. You've got a lot of data now about this business. If it were to be the case that you took my SEO advice and became this dominant player in the marketplace, is this business going to be your ticket? And if it's not, how could it be? I mean, do you need to work yourself into higher value products? Do you need to reposition yourself in the marketplace? And I think, to have a little bit of intent in your design and purposefulness in your work, because you've got the data, man. So take a look at it and ask yourself, is this business going to be your jam? Is it worth your time, or should you take some of the lessons that you've learned and take them to a new business and a new marketplace? Thanks for the question. If you guys stick around to the end of this episode, I will be talking about spotlight marketing, which is something that I think could be relevant to a bunch of you. But first, a question from Daryl. I remember you discussing using Ning to help build your community. Do you still use Ning for developing communities? If so, would you recommend it as a platform for businesses and organizations who want to build their own communities? Thanks for the question, Daryl. Okay, I use Ning for the Dynamite Circle, and here's my overall review of it. It kills it. I join a lot of communities nowadays because I want to see what I can learn from what other people are doing. And I'm paying a lot of money to join these communities. The Dynamite Circle user experiences is so far the best I've seen. And I would, any Dynamite Circles out there, listen to this, please direct me to stuff that's better. But still, what Ning does, it's so unique, is first off, it's much cleaner. Like I go into PHPBB and vBulletin, and I feel like it's like jumping into a 1970s car, and all of a sudden you're trying to shift on the column and you're trying to roll down windows and stuff. It's like, this stuff is so old school, whereas Ning's forums, from my view, are so clean. They're so easy to read, so easy to use. Not only that, but it's the community atmosphere of Ning, where you can see other people's faces. Their profiles are robust. They're sharing in a live Twitter stream, or they're sharing their photos and videos on the site. I love that. Add to that the super easy admin. So when you come into the Dynamite Circle, Daryl, or I think we haven't made the final decision yet, but I think we're going to launch Tropical MBA University on Ning. So I'll talk about that in a bit. But with Ning, what you can do is you can go in there and you can edit the look of it so simply. So let's say in your community you write a weekly column. Well, all you got to do is go in there and hit edit, put a cool picture in there, link it to your column. You can put arrows in there, whatever you want to do. I mean, so there's this custom landing page experience whenever, wherever you want it. If you start, like recently in the Dynamite Circle, a book club started. So it's really easy just to create a sub-forum called DC Book Club, and people can join that group, and then the person that is the moderator of that forum can change the way it looks in there, can structure the content in there. I mean, this is extraordinarily powerful stuff. And in my view, if you're going to build a community where people are collaborating and stuff, much better than all these. I mean, I feel so disconnected in a forum. Forums to me are much more about information and much less about community. Whereas when I go into the Dynamite Circle or other, I've seen a couple other people using Ning now, and it feels like it's more of like a community, and I like that a lot. One other thing I think Ning could be used for, and this is relevant to our Tropical MBA product, and Brennan Tully's using this actually, just started, so it'll be interesting to see how. I forget the exact domain, but the idea is basically you can use Ning as a product delivery platform. So if you got a customer, you can give them a login to this community, and then they can get the products to be, they can download products in there. Now, when they sign up for the community, they've got a picture, they've got a profile, they got visibility in there. So they could ask questions in there. They could sign up for events, and those events are webinars. So in the Ning software, you've got, you could say next Friday there's an event and it's going to be a webinar, and you got to RSVP, and they could do that all within that platform. So extremely powerful. So what are the downsides? So there's a lot. First off, you're on a third-party software platform, and that's, you can always download your data, and you do own your data, and you decide whether you're public or private with Ning. But, the downside is that, you never know what's going to happen to that company. So you could build your whole product around their feature set, and then they could go bust. Who knows? But the other thing, you contra to that, is that that's sort of a risk with any piece of software. And the other issue with, I know a bunch of guys who have communities where they're using like open source stuff or WordPress, and they're, putting in plugins and stuff, and they're always breaking. Always. There's always like some kind of problem. Since we put up the Dynamite Circle, we've had no problems. I think there was a couple days when people weren't getting email notifications, but that wasn't even that big of a deal. They could just go to the site. So, you compare it. Yes, I am on a third-party platform, but I haven't had a problem for a year and a half, or close to 2 years now. Whereas all my friends that are bolting together communities, they're constantly like getting developers involved, and the deal. So, Let me see. What else? Yeah. So anyway, product delivery platform. That's it. Am I bullish about Ning? Yes. I have a robust, amazing community that I enjoy being a part of, that I have 100% flexibility in terms of how it looks and how I can present content to my users. And I haven't had to think about technology for 2 years. So Daryl, I couldn't be happier with Ning. Heather wrote me and said, I have this great idea for a travel coffee mug, but I don't know where to start. How do I even get started if I've got a product idea? I don't have a ton of money. I want to go to China and maybe get this developed. And how do I get people pumped about this? How do I write about coffee mugs? All right, Heather, I got a couple ideas for you to get started. First off, if you're just getting started, you don't have a lot of resources, consider getting a job with the product manufacturer. So, I think the best way to learn is to learn on somebody else's dime, Heather. So become an apprentice. Don't be, I don't know what you do. Like, say you're a doctor. Don't be a doctor by day and then a product manufacturer by the evening, unless you're socking that cash and you've got a ton of time to spend it. So get an apprenticeship. If you're absolutely at square one, you have no idea what you're doing. Now, you don't have to. You can figure this stuff out. It's not rocket science. Check out what the girls at Revolution Apparel did. Watch how they walked women who are passionate about travel and fashion through their product development process. So I think like Revolution Apparel, those girls were talking about a product that they were developing for like a year, maybe even more, before they even had a product. Now, I don't think you're going to have a problem finding people that are passionate about coffee. I mean, my hand's up in the air. I love drinking coffee. I love travel. So, I mean, there's a big market out there about people who, could be interested in your process. There's an example of the guys at Minaal. They're doing this right now. In fact, they're developing the world's greatest travel shirt for business guys. And so I'm going to get on that bandwagon. So I'm a beta customer and my shirt's going to be here in just a few days. So I think you can talk about the product development process. So in 2007, Tim Ferriss recommended this technique of like putting up a landing page and seeing if people will buy like a hypothetical product. I think the equivalent strategy in 2013 is showing your product development journey. To that end, Heather, you need a product spec. So if you don't have a detailed product spec describing to a potential supplier precisely what your product's going to be, that's the first place you need to focus, not marketing. And the second thing is, go on to Alibaba.com and find people who are building manufacturing products just like your coffee mug, and start kicking them that spec and getting the pricing in line. And once you've got the price, the spec, the supplier, go around to some customers. Call me up. Write me an email. Say, hey, Dan, here's the product. Here's the price. Would you be interested in buying something like this? And if I say yes, why don't ask me to put my money where my mouth is? I'm going to do an exclusive pre-order for the first 50 customers. Do you want to be a part of it? Yeah, I'll be a part of that. Heather, if you develop this coffee mug, I will buy 5 of them. So you just write me an email and let me know. I'll give it to, I'll take 2 for myself and give 3 to Ian. All right. So Jeremy writes the next question. He's got a new clothing brand launching, it looks like, in next April. So how do I create authority or value based on blog posting? This is going to be a sort of a fashion brand. You have a big customer list from a previous job and you got it in kind of a shady way. All right, so Jeremy wants to know how to operate here. Here's the biggest thing, Jeremy, I saw in your email is that, I think there's a big overfocus on people that are just starting new businesses. It's like, yeah, I'm hitting up Pinterest. I've got my Facebook thing going on. It's like, I feel like that has zero value unless you have a clear value proposition. That's what you need to start with, and that's why product development is 100%, should be 100% of your focus right now. I mean, are those people on Pinterest and Facebook really that engage with you if they don't even know what you're doing? So again, let's take a look at what Minaal is doing. Let's take a look at what Jimmy's doing, because that's a good case study because he's just getting started. And it's super focused because what he's doing is he's developing this shirt. And if you're following Jimmy on Facebook, you're interested in that shirt like I am. And I think that that's something worth following. Don't get the impression that these people who are following your blog or whatever care about you. So like, your personal Facebook profile, people have known you for decades, so they're willing to follow you on Facebook, but they might mash the like button on your brand, but that's not really an accomplishment or anything you should be spending your energy on right now. So you're just getting started. There is no marketing to be done until you have a value proposition, and in a product company, you don't have a value proposition until you have a product. So I want a product spec. I want a product story. I want anything having to do with your product. I want to see it front and center. I don't care about blogs. I don't care about social media. Let's talk about a product and get back to me, Jeremy. All right. Dino writes, I'm thinking of starting a blog based on the topic of bootstrapping in Southeast Asia. Topics would include, comparing locations, finding accommodation, visa issues. There's a ton of focus on Southeast Asia and the bootstrapping culture here. So Dino wants to know, is this a winner or a loser? Because I have that standing offer out to readers of the Tropical MBA. Write me an email. Is your blog concept a winner or a loser? And last week I actually did Tropical Talk Radio on this very topic, Southeast Asia startup scene. Okay, so Dino, the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is that Southeast Asia startup scene is a growth sector. Southeast Asia, the way that these mobile entrepreneurs are treating it is like one cohesive unit. And it does seem to be, it has all these amazing things going for it, like low cost of living, vibrant, diverse cultures, cheap travel, there's great hiring opportunities here. There's a lot of investment capital available, all these things that we talk about in general. So I think you've got the good part of this blog is that you have the upward trend of the marketplace. So that's always a good thing. The bad part of the blog is that there's no clear path to monetization. So you could have, say, events, but it's kind of a soft value, and it's sort of a tough thing to get started with. There's no real clear problem that you're solving except, providing people with a community that are in Southeast Asia to sort of hobnob with each other, which is, something that it's not a great way to get started with this because it's a low friction business model. So here's the thing I think about bootstrapping in Southeast Asia. If you were to start a blog like that, Dino, or if anybody were to start a blog like that, I would follow it and I'll be very interested in what that blog has to say. So I don't think you can lose with this concept, but I don't think it's a clear home run winner. I would put this solidly in, this is a passion project. And so my rubric would be when it comes to passion projects like this, you're going to develop the kinds of relationships you want. You're going to be you're going to be a central area for the kinds of information that you want because you love Southeast Asia, you love entrepreneurship, all that kind of stuff. So in that sense, you can't really lose if you're willing to stick to it for 2 to 3 years. So it's not going to be something that makes money out of the gate. This is very much a long-term passion project. But if you're ticking all those boxes, yes, I don't really think you can lose. And again, one thing I love about a blog about bootstrapping in Southeast Asia is it's kind of a substitute for a personal blog. So a lot of people would start a blog called, dinosadventures.com or whatever. And instead of doing that, if you were to structure that content under the formulation of the bootstrapping opportunity in Southeast Asia, but then all the content is just like Dino's Adventures, that's a much better strategy for gaining an audience and gaining influence. So I like the idea of, hey, just put your Flickr, Facebook, all that normal adventure content underneath this blog that has a real value proposition, which is I'm pulling together entrepreneurs in Southeast Asia who are seeking community, who are seeking investment, who are seeking co-working spaces, all that kind of stuff. And then eventually, if you stick to it for 2 to 3 years, Dino, that's going to lead to something. And I will be your first listener. Thank you, Dino, for the question. All right. Rob writes me and he says, thanks again for the practical advice and inspiration. If episode 122 and 125 of the Lifestyle Business Podcast were a cassette tape, I'd have stretched the shit out of that in my $250K 99 Ford Explorer Entrepreneur Mobile by now. Hey, Rob. Hey, cheers for having the Entrepreneur Mobile. All right, Rob, you've prompted me to talk a little bit about spotlight marketing because you've asked this question about your consulting practice. You have an amazing background in engineering and consulting, and also you have 2 products, Practical Precision and Engineer Unbound, that are sort of more Muse businesses. And what you want to know, or your question for the audience, you're giving presentations to students. You have a 23-year track record with this information. How do you decide how to intermix all of these different sites? You've got consulting product, you've got ebook product, and then you've got this completely different product, that's somewhat related. So is it just a matter of having an about page on each one that links to each one, a banner ad at the top of the site? How does this work? All right, so I've got a theory about this, and it's called spotlight marketing. And the web's becoming a little bit more efficient in terms of how people network with each other, how people follow each other. And so I think, the old distributed strategy of having different marketing messages at different domains, I think is going by the wayside. So what I would do, Rob, is develop the one focal point on the web where your message comes from. Because your message is fundamentally about the same thing. It's about solving problems for people in your field. And you're going to solve that problem in a bunch of different ways. Many of them are unknown to you at the current moment. So it's part of the reason that you don't want to distribute your resources across a bunch of different domains. Instead, you want to develop the mini New York Times, your core domain, and you could use your oldest website for that, Imagitec, or it wouldn't really matter. PracticalPrecision.com is actually a great brand because I can remember that. And I could say, hey, Rob from Practical Precision. That sounds fantastic. Okay, so what does Rob do at Practical Precision? All of your marketing materials, Rob. Everything having to do with your ebooks, all of your lectures, all of your blogs, your podcasts, all of your interesting articles, all come through there. And then when you have a solid product conception, say there's an ebook about a particular kind of CAD drawing, that's $99. You talk about it on your practicalprecision.com, your central domain. You put the sales letter up, you have a podcast about it, maybe you do some interviews about it, your videos of your lectures about this product with a buy now button on that main domain. If you feel like you're getting traction with that product, put a landing page up for that product, CAD, ebook, drawing, whatever.com. But I think in a lot of cases, you're going to find that you don't really even need to go that far because people are going to want to follow you, Rob. People are going to want to hear from you. They're going to want to see what kind of products you're launching. And that's why I call it spotlight marketing. Because you just want everybody, and it's probably not the best metaphor, I should improve on this, but the idea is that I'm following you because you're a person who solves the types of problems that I have. So I'm asking you questions, I'm looking to see what your next product's going to be, etc. So what I'm doing is I'm latching myself to you, and then you're pointing that spotlight to where I need to go. Rather than having this distributed model where some of your audience follows your ebook stuff, some of your audience follows your consulting stuff, some of your audience... No, it's the same audience. It's the same types of problems you're solving. So have one central spotlight, and then when you're ready to shine it on a product, do so vis-a-vis your content at that central space. And again, the other thing about it, Rob, is you're just getting started with developing an audience by going to these lectures at universities and stuff. That's freaking fantastic. Don't make it complicated for them to follow you. Hey, I'm Rob from practicalprecision.com, and there's one place to follow what I do. These kids don't care about you that much that they want to follow you in 4 different places just yet, but I'm sure you'll get there. Hey, Rob, let me know if I can help you out a little bit more. I'm pumped about what you're doing. All right, we're at 23 minutes. It's Friday afternoon, so I got a couple more questions, but I'm going to push them off until next week, and I'll get back to you all via email. My email is dan@tropicalmba.com. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for reading the blog, and I hope you have a fantastic and productive weekend. I'll see you guys next week on the podcast.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Don't be shy. We've got a mailing list. Check it out at tropicalmba.com. Get yourself signed up, and we'll keep you up to date on everything we do, plus give you those 50 free podcast episodes. If you want to say, hey, check me out on Twitter at Tropical MBA. We'll see you soon.